Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody. Hi, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking About the Big Stuff podcast with Michael Cole and Matthew Cravat. I am Michael Cole.
And I am Matthew Cravat.
All right. What is tonight's topic?
Dead to me.
Dead to me. All right. So let's have some fun, because I actually had some fun coming up with this topic and thinking of examples.
We got so angry. It's like, we're in a good mood. Let's talk about people we're so angry at we will never talk to again.
Yeah.
I ripped my clothes.
Yes. Okay, so here's the topic that we want to talk about. We said that, the title is "They're Dead to Me." The concept is people that we've cut out of our lives, cut off from communication. So, all right, Matthew, do you want to start with an example, or do you want me to start with an example?
I've got an example that so far seems to be permanent, a couple, but I also have one that was, a temporary one. It turned out to be temporary. Like, it was for years, and then there was a reconciliation.
Okay.
So I don't know where you want to start.
You start, and then I need a minute to calm down.
Yeah, so we'll start with the moment where there was a reconciliation, since that'll help calm down. So, my brother and I had a huge falling out on the Facebooks. Actually, he and my wife did. They had an argument over something not important for the topic. It was because it was really a news story, and my wife made comments about it that my brother took offense at, and in their argument, she said things that he took a lot of offense at that she didn't mean offensive, which is a personal thing with him that she didn't know was a button. So he said horrible things that she took offense at. And he went way over the top and went for the jugular, which is something that he has since worked on about himself, that he realized that he's an online bully, and he has worked on it, and it's not as much bully. We unfriended him on Facebook, blocked him on every social media, and his wife, and like his best friend, who I used to be friends with. I don't want him reporting back on things that were happening in my family's life. And we didn't talk for years. And like, it's funny because people would reach out to me and said, "You know what? I'm gonna have to block your brother on Facebook. He's being such an asshole." And I'm like, "Dude, I already did. Like, you're not telling me anything new. Not gonna offend me." But then at my dad's 80th birthday party 6 years ago, we had to work together in planning the party. We were planning it, my wife doing most of the work here in North Carolina, and all the family was coming, and she was doing like a scrapbook and other stuff where we had to reach out to him and get input and stuff. And so we did as just business-like as possible. And then he was here, and we weren't really interacting with him that much. Like, we took pictures together because we had to, but we kind of, I was as polite as if he was a stranger. And then maybe the next to last day before they left, my wife and I were talking, and she's like, it has not been as awkward as I thought it would. And he seems to have controlled himself, and I do miss him. So we went over and just talked to him like it was normal the last day he was there, pretty much, and said, "Hey, we should unblock you on Facebook." So we reconnected, and it was really funny because what ended up being funny was a day or two later, like, he said something on his Facebook page, whatever, random Facebook thing, and I made a comment, and mutual friends were like, "What was that, Matthew? Did Matthew make a comment? Did Matthew see your post?" And he just made a new post that just said, in quotes, in all caps, "There has been a ... reconciliation," which properly said is, "There has been a reconciliation," which is from WWE wrestling. There was a time when The Undertaker left his manager, Paul Bearer, who became his unknown brother Kane's manager. And then one day they just came out together, Paul Bearer and Undertaker, who had been trying to kill each other for 2 years. And all the explanation we got for storyline was Undertaker said, "There has been a reconciliation." So that was all the story Facebook was going to get for our reconciliation.
Nice.
But it was a couple of years, though, of not talking. My parents being unhappy about it. Like, the whole family went on a cruise, and we didn't go because we didn't want to be with them on the cruise. They came in for Thanksgiving, and we did Thanksgiving at my in-laws' house instead of their house because we didn't want to deal with it. So it was a long years of like zero contact. And now, I took days off from work last week because he was in town. So we've turned things around.
Good. Reconciliation is I think, really it's great when it can happen. And I so when I came up with this topic, I was thinking about like people, cut off, like the people that have cut off, and really it's only one person. There's been a couple of examples that I think people might think that they've been cut off, but so I've got a few stories to tell on this episode. So this will definitely be a Patreon only story. So if you're watching live and you're not right now, like you're getting the exclusive right now. Okay, that's the whole story.
Yeah, it's I've known people like that. Can't back down. Can't. I mean, I have a friend. Well, I've unfollowed on Facebook, not unfriended. So I just don't want to see his crap because I don't want to get to that point with him. Where I used to send him links of videos like Fox Live videos that show back-to-back things of the same host saying opposite things on different days and like going back and forth just to say anything to rile people up. And his attitude was always like, yeah, but he's lying to you. I'm a Fox watcher, like I'm in on it. And I'm like, no, you're the watcher. He's lying to you. Like you may think you're in on it, but you're absorbing it. Like he's not lying to me. I don't watch Fox. I only watch the videos making fun of them.
Yeah.
Yes, I get that the people who won't back down because they don't want to lose the argument, even when they're clearly wrong. Here's a screenshot. No, you're backtracking. It's a screenshot.
Yeah. It drove me so fucking crazy, but what are you gonna do? So I cut him out.
Yep.
And that's the only person. So I think it's important we should like go into kind of defining cutting out, but like I don't consider unfriending somebody on Facebook cutting out necessarily. Obviously that is part of cutting out.
It's one of the steps. I mean,
yeah,
but these days, like people who don't live near you, that can be your main, like a lot of them is your main way of talking to them. I mean,
yeah.
Clearly when I stopped talking to my brother, it wasn't just on Facebook that I stopped talking to him. That was just a fast, easy way.
So I have people in my life that I'm not friends with on Facebook, but that doesn't mean I just don't think Facebook is not the place for us to participate together. So I have an uncle who unfriended me, and I have an uncle who I can't remember if he unfriended me or I unfriended him, but we see each other, we go on vacation together, we're good. It's just that Facebook is not the place for us to engage, and we've handled that fine. I have so I will say Sarah.
Right, like the person I said I stopped following on Facebook, we still call each other and talk on the phone because it doesn't go to politics there and it doesn't go into the issues. It's just about our lives when we talk on the phone. On Facebook, we see sides of each other we don't want to see, so we choose not to, or at least I choose not to see those sides of it.
Yeah.
Yep. But other people, like when I don't know if you remember a couple of years ago, Donald Trump was president. I don't know if you remember that.
Sure, yeah.
Sounds
familiar.
When he was declared the winner, I believe like the day he was declared the winner or whatever of the 2016, the one that he won, I posted shared a meme that was along the lines of, it's not me that I'm worried about, it's my friends. And then it listed gay people, trans people, Mexicans, Muslims, and all these different marginalized communities that Trump had explicitly said he was going to go after, and someone who I'd been friends with since 5th grade, whom I was the best man at his wedding, posted, "Oh my God, you're with them," in all caps, the word them in all caps. And I was so just shocked and upset just seeing that I'm like, I don't know which of them he meant. Like if he meant the entire list or one particular group on the list. I just literally was like, I just can't. And sorry, I'm going to say it, Mike, I unfriended him on Facebook, but I also blocked his phone number in my phone. Not that we talked very much, but just in case he called me about it, and told my family, and they all blocked him on Facebook. Most of them blocked him on Facebook. My wife sometimes talks about how, this person is still friends with him. Why is this member of our family still friends with him? Like they don't even know him. They were just friends because we were friends. And I think they just didn't know to unfriend him. But yeah, and it's like, and I just can't, I don't know which group he was not siding with, but it doesn't really make a difference. Like being that negative and that at that time, and it just was too much.
Right. Yeah. So this was Sarah's high school friend. She was one of the bridesmaids in our wedding. And she during, this is pre 2020 election, she was constantly. I will say it finished before the 2020 election because I dropped off Facebook basically altogether at that point in time. But so anytime I would post, let's say 5-6 years ago, anytime I would post anything for about Black Lives Matter or a mass shooting, she would comment on every single post. She would not be able to stay on topic at all. And so, like, if I posted, like, it wasn't George Floyd, I don't think, because it would have been it might have been before that, but there was so many incidences of unarmed Black people being killed, and I would post something about my outrage, or I would share something about whether it was a information about it, and she would comment every single time, and it would get into these I don't want to say conversation. It would get into an argument, and she wouldn't be able to stay on topic. And she would say, it would switch. It would go from, we would be talking about Black Lives Matter to, they can take my guns when I die. They're never going to take my guns. And she would just could not stay on topic. I'm like, I would say, while I obviously have strong feelings on mass shootings, my gun control feelings are not exactly in line with what the average person who you'd think like a liberal, because I think that some of it makes sense, some of the gun control stuff makes sense, to equate the two things, saying, oh, you're pro Black Lives Matter, so you must be anti-gun altogether. And I'm like, we're having this argument, let's not
well, they have to
argument.
strum in the argument because their side makes no sense, because their side doesn't understand nuance. Because it's very few people who think get rid of all things extreme on the left. It's they're extremists, but most that's not the mainstream thing. But they can straw man you by saying you believe the extreme thing.
But straw manning would be an upgrade, because this would be like if you told me that you were going to a Black Lives Matter rally and I was like, transgenders are coming for our kids. It was like, what the fuck? These are not at all related. How, this is, you know what I mean? Straw manning, at least you're on topic. And so she would constantly get start these fights and not stay on topic. And so you can't have a conversation like that. It's impossible. But she would insist on every single post.
It's just a gish gallop of everything every bullet point she's ever seen just thrown at you.
So I unfriended her on Facebook, and to me, that did not mean if we were near her. She lives in a different part of the country. If we went out there and Sarah wanted to see her, I'd have gone and had dinner with them. I don't care. And if she was in our part of the country and they wanted to come have dinner or hang out, it'd be fine. I don't want to engage on Facebook. That's what that meant. And so she reached out to Sarah at one point and was like, I'm just a good Christian conservative, and Mike's a liberal atheist, and I am very surprised that just because we have a difference of opinion means that he would cancel me. I can't, I don't believe in canceling, and blah 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 blah. And I'm like, I will hang out with you. I don't give a fuck, but I don't want to have this fight. I don't want to have this conversation because you cannot stay on topic. And I haven't talked to her, so I don't know. But it was that clear to me. No, this is not a hard thing to do. And like I said, my uncles, I'm not friends with my uncles on two my uncles on Facebook. But when I see them, I love them, and I see them, and everything goes fine for the most part. It can get a little rocky, but we're not they're not out of my life. They're just not my Facebook friends. So.
Yeah, I mean, for the Facebook side of things, there was a time when I used to just mark some people as acquaintances on Facebook. You can go and edit your friends list and make them acquaintances, and then my normal post for anything of content that was the start of conversation was posted to, and it's my coworkers I put as acquaintances, and then do postings as friends, not acquaintances, as the posting audience, so that they just don't even see that. They see the pictures of the food that I'm having, and I'm going to the movies and what stuff. But if I post something political or controversial, I just take them out of it, especially coworkers. Now it's gotten more to a point where I'm like, I don't have to be friends with everyone at Facebook. I went into culling at one point and deleted like 100 friends out of Facebook, just out of Facebook. It's like, I'm not really friends with you. Like, I mean, if I see you in real life, it'd be fine. But it's like, we met once, we did a play together. And so we friended each other on Facebook, but we haven't done a play together since then.
Right.
Where Madhavi and I got less involved with party politics in the area. I deleted everybody who I just knew from politics. And when some people went back and tried to re-add me, I was like, okay, fine. If you cared enough to re-add me when you noticed I was gone, okay. But if it was just we met at a party once, we met at a fundraiser, and you said, oh, we should connect on Facebook, I don't need to anymore.
Yeah.
Which is sad because I used to have 666 friends on Facebook, and I kept that as a rule that if I wanted to add somebody, if someone sent me a friend request, I would go back and find somebody who I hadn't interacted with and delete them to make room for new person to be 666. And I would tell people, just so you know, you are now friend number 666. I always make sure it stayed that way. Some people, like Callie Wright and Cecil Something Italian from Cognitive Dissonance, they loved it. They were like super. Cecil specifically, I deleted an atheist author, Richard Carrier, to make room for him, and he talked about it on the podcast.
Nice.
It's funny. But then after I went through the culling, I have not made it back up to 666 yet, so I can't relive that.
Not yet.
Yeah. But I also had a friend from college, and it seems like a lot of these are politically related, but more than that, because it's not just the politics. Like my best friend from childhood is one I don't follow on Facebook, so I don't see his political rants, but it doesn't stop us from being friends, because it's not about the politics. It's about, like, the other person was just being either a racist or something phobe. I don't know which, because I don't know which thing he responded to. It wasn't political. Like, that's not a political stance. I don't like those people. Like that, it may be part of the Republican Party platform, but it's not a political thing, regardless of what they say. And this other thing was, when Obama was president, this friend of mine from college would post things, just clearly racist things about him, and just crazy, kind of like, the example of that we had to edit out for the mainstream that you gave. But there was like, conspiracy theory stuff that, like
we could talk about it. I just don't want you making vaguely anti-Semitic jokes that, like,
that wasn't the thing
out of context.
There was nothing anti-Semitic about the fact that I said blow it out your ass. I don't know why you think that's anti-Semitic. That's not.
Okay.
You were talking about analingus. That's not anti-Semitic. I don't know what you're talking about. I've lost you.
Okay, talk about your conspiracy theories.
But this person's like it was when Obamacare was being passed, and some Republicans were saying it just gives free care to illegal aliens. That's what it does. And she was like repeating that, and I was like, here's a link to the bill. Show me where it says that. And she was like, no, we know it's true. And when her congressperson yelled out, you lie, during the State of the Union address, she was defending it as, that's not disrespectful. And so I was like, we only talk once or twice a year anyway. I think I'm done talking to her. And she has since sent me, like, made comments on my LinkedIn or sent me a note in LinkedIn, like, wanting to reconnect. And it gets my ire up, the fact that it was so just clearly racist that she was referring to him, like, not other people, that I can't even think about. Like, it's not worth it. Like, why do I need to have a friend who lives in Florida who I don't talk to but once a year? Like, it doesn't hurt my life for her not being in it, and I don't know that it will help my life if she is.
Yeah, I get that. That's how, yeah, I feel that a lot, but I have a direction I have a question I want to ask you. So it's, we're live streaming right now, but a good portion of this is going to be on the podcast in general anyway, like the public feed. Would you be worried that if any of these people that we're talking about were to pay attention,
if they're one of our hundreds of thousands of listeners?
Yeah. Would it upset? Would you be like, this might be a confrontation? Would it bother you?
No, I mean, I don't. I just reported exactly what they said and did, and why I don't want to talk to them anymore. I don't think there anything is.
Yeah.
I mean, really, I don't know. Like, I don't know the person that I stopped following all of their posts knows that I don't follow. They just know that I don't comment on anything. But he also knows that he purposely puts in incendiary things I don't even think he believes, but he knows it pisses his sister off and his brother-in-law off because he likes the argument. And I'm like, I'm not on Facebook for the argument. So
yeah. So the the two stories I just told, the guy with the rim jobs, I'm going to call him that. I wouldn't be surprised to find out that he has checked out the podcast. Because I know that like I can see sometimes I haven't like blocked him on Instagram, so I can see that he checks my stories sometimes on Instagram. And and if he hears me, like I don't know if he's in denial or he just is like what. So I'm not worried about that.
Maybe he's upset because he is really, really into rim jobs and he felt attacked.
I thought it was just like a. So the woman that I was talking about that was Sarah's friend, if she actually listened to that, I think she would be like, I've never given her a reason, I never explained it myself, so that might be beneficial if anything, but I think she would just be like, I don't do that. Anyway, the point is that guns and black people, I care about one and not the other, and I'll let you guess. And like that's what I think she would say. But
well, we know she cares about guns. She's defending the right to have them.
Yeah. I do have a couple of things a couple of friends I wanted to talk about that I
behind their backs.
No, I was going to say that I'm a little more. I don't want to say I'm like. I think that they, again, these aren't people that I'm like I've cut out officially. Like if they message me, I will respond. I actually am friends on Facebook with. But my friends, there's two friends from high school that I don't talk to them anymore, but I'm still friends with them on Facebook, and I don't. I feel like that if I told them, I feel like if they heard me talking about them, they might be upset. But like I think that they would also recognize the truth in it. So I want to talk about these stories anyway because I think that they're important. And like I said, I haven't not cut these people out. I just don't talk to them. But I wouldn't say if they reached out, I'd be probably fine with it. So one, I had a friend for the first 3 years of high school. We dated the summer after junior year for a couple weeks, and when I say dated, like we kissed, and that was like 100% it. We went on
rim
2
jobs,
dates,
and that was it.
No, absolutely not. So we dated we went on 2 actual dates, and we hung out every day during the summer, those 2 weeks during the summer, and we had like 2 kisses, and that was like our entire relationship.
Like Hershey's Kisses, right?
No, just lip to lip kiss. I don't. Yeah. So anyway, so we dated for those 2 weeks. Then she broke up with me, and then we proceeded to be friends again for I think I was kind of a jerk for a little bit afterwards, but by the end of senior year, I think we were on good terms. We were friends all throughout her college experience. Then she met her husband, who she was she met her husband, who's the only other guy that I think she's really dated. Actually, she's the only guy he's the only guy she's really dated.
Yeah, 2 weeks is not. You know.
But when you have no experience, apparently what we had was
right.
the only other experience. So to her, and I don't think big deal. I don't want it to sound like I think she was infatuated. I think she thought
it was a major event in her life that she dated someone. Where for you, it was one of 30 people.
Not at the time, but yes, eventually I was like, yeah, I've dated a bunch of people now, and I've had a bunch of different experiences. I also I didn't wait till marriage, and so and I've had a slew of I've had several other sexual partners, several actual sexual partners. Yeah, Matthew, and so it was not like it just isn't the same thing for me. And when she and her husband met, and started dating, and then got married. I've met her husband 2 or 3 times. It was always fine, but it was always awkward. I always felt like the two of them felt very awkward about seeing me, but we were in the same friend group, so it wasn't. I never hung out with them on my own. It was like, oh, here's 7 or 8 of us hanging out, and it became really clear that either she was uncomfortable or he was uncomfortable with me and her being friends still. And so it became like if I wished her a happy birthday on Facebook, I got nothing back, and I'd get no back. Like I'm not talking about like you need to wish me a happy birthday, but like you could
Not
be
a
like,
thank you.
oh,
Yeah.
thanks,
Yeah.
thanks, we did, we had a good time, we had a good night tonight, or whatever. Just nothing, literally nothing. And then my mom was working at a church in the area that we grew up, and she lived in a different state, and I actually still lived in Massachusetts at the time. And she would the one time I would hear from her was when someone in her family needed a job, and my mom knew about jobs because my mom worked at a church and she knew a lot of people. And so I would get these messages like, hey, do you think your mom knows of anyone that might need blah blah blah? And I'm like, I'll check. But it became radio silence, or what can you do for me? And so I stopped. I eventually, I mean, literally, at one point when Sarah and I got engaged, the day after or 2 days after, there was no, hey, congratulations on getting engaged. It was, hey, my whoever needs a job. And I was just like, all right, I'm done. And I unfriended her. And then we went
Okay,
to
podcast listeners, what Mike doesn't know was she wasn't allowed to talk to him, and all of those were coded messages. If he had highlighted the first letter of each word, they were a plea for help.
Man, I mean, I don't know. It's one of those super strict religions, like where there's no social dancing kind of shit. So I don't know, but
Even more
so
reason she was coding her messages for help.
no, I think she's full in. But so we weren't friends on Facebook for years, and then the day that Logan was born, my sister posted a picture, and my new nephew was born, and my sister is friends with her, and so I got a friend request, and this is 3-4 hours after Logan's born. I friend request, or I accept a friend request because I'm like, I'm in such a happy mood. I'm like, I hopefully this will be like a new leaf. We'll figure, and it doesn't matter. We're never gonna be friends, but like maybe we could just be a little more symmetrical. And she comments on the very first picture of Logan because he's got some like medical thing, and she's a nurse, and she starts trying to diagnose him. And I'm like, I don't want everybody knowing my son's medical.
Send me a private message with a diagnosis, not post.
She fucking did it in the comments, and I was like, I've been friends with you for 5 minutes again. Like, what the fuck? And that was like really the last time I think we talked at any. And I didn't unfriend her. I responded in private and said, hey, I don't want all of that. I just shared a picture. Not everyone on my feed is a medical professional. Not everyone knows what that might be. It was just because they were making sure his like blood sugar was okay because he was born early and stuff. But like, the day of, like, you don't want to be fielding those questions.
Yeah, it's not time for a medical conversation.
Yeah, and it was obnoxious. It was obnoxious. So that was the only thing that was the last time we talked. I have gotten several invites to support her missions to Papua New Guinea.
Can you do me a favor?
I was not an atheist yet. Last time I got him.
Can you send her a link to the membership/donation page at PFS? Say I'm a member of this group, and if you could donate some money, we would really appreciate it.
I've thought about sending the if I ever got another request for sending to the mission, I was gonna be like, here's my atheist podcast's Patreon page. You support me, I'll support you. But yeah. So I've got a couple. I've got that. I have no ill will. If she messaged me and was like, hey, I'm going to be in town. Do you and your wife want to get dinner? I'd be like, yeah, whatever. I would be fine with it. Although Sarah's never met her, but like, I'd be fine. But it's not the same as someone getting fully cut off. But
yeah, it always interests me the different comfort levels that people have with other people's exes or even just ex-friends. I mean, I had someone who didn't like when me and his girlfriend talked about things that happened between us before they started dating. And like, I had known her for 10 years. We were just friends. And so, remember that time that what happened? And he's like, I feel really uncomfortable when you talk about your friendship before we got together. I'm like, dude, we didn't date. we're friends.
Yeah.
But still, the insecurity amazes me so much. Well, like at my older brother's wedding, like none of his ex-girlfriends were allowed to even know about the wedding, let alone be invited. Like my sister-in-law was like, you should never talk to any of your exes ever again. Where, I invited a bunch of my ex-girlfriends because they were now friends. Otherwise, why would I have dated them in the first place? We had people come to my wedding who were exes.
Yeah. I think there's a reasonable middle ground. Like I don't know, like, so I don't have any exes that if this girl had been more reasonable with me, I would have probably invited her to the wedding. Like if we had been, but by the time, like I said, I unfriended her 2-3 days after I got engaged because I was like, this is horseshit. Like I can't deal with this. But she's the only one that I would have invited to the wedding, the only ex that I was friendly enough to invite to the wedding, potentially. But I mean, I think
it's funny because my sister-in-law had made a comment to my wife, I can't believe they're here. That's so awkward. And Malavi's like, why? I won. I'm not threatened by them. He's not with them. He's with me.
See, I think most of my exes would think they won and
Sarah lost. But... I mean, I think there were two who were there, and one was married, and one was she was engaged, or she was with the guy she's married to now. So they were either, dating strongly enough that she brought him to a wedding, or they were already engaged. I had two ex-girlfriends at my wedding, and my sister-in-law was like, I can't believe you invited them to your wedding, to my wife. I can't believe you let him invite them. And she was like, I won. But then one of them was with her husband, and one of them was with the person she's now married to. So I don't know if they were engaged at that time or just dating, but either way, it doesn't make a difference. Like they were happy and secure in their relationships. We were just long distance friends at that point. I'm in North Carolina. They were in Philadelphia.
Yeah. Yeah. I think like that just never was the way it played out for me. But like, I don't think Sarah would have cared if like she would care. I think more if we tried to reconnect with an ex-girlfriend now. But like if I had been friends the whole way through, she wouldn't have cared. I worked with two women that were kind of exes when I met Sarah, and I kind of hung out with them because I was working there. After work, You'd bring your girlfriend to go get drinks with everybody else, and so she's hung out with them. She liked one and she didn't like the other. And
so do you have any reverse stories of people who were never really anything to you, who you knew, and then suddenly they're alive to you? So I've got a couple of women that I'm friends with on Facebook who were like elementary school friends of mine that like I got connected to on Facebook because I posted our elementary class picture from as many years as I could find. And I tagged people who I was still friends with, like I knew through high school, who then tagged people in my picture and tagged people in my picture. So people, that I was never really friends with. We were just in class. Because in elementary school, at least in the 70s, boys and girls didn't really become friends that much. We were very sexist in who we hung out with. So there were girls in my class who I knew their names and faces all through into middle school. But, before I was dating, we didn't interact. And now, like I'm friends with someone on Facebook and I get private messages, comments on posts because we have things in common that had built a little online friendship. But then private messages from some of them with, hey, Matthew, you seem to know a lot about, atheism. I had one woman who was like, my son doesn't want to wear a yarmulke at the Passover Seder at his uncle's house. What do you think about that? Since I know that's your world and you're big on that. And I was like, well, if it was in your house and you were okay with it, I would say he doesn't wear one. If he wants to go to his uncle's house, he should respect his uncle's rules and, either ask, can I not wear it? Or, or don't go. Like if you're that against wearing it, don't go to your uncle's house. That's my personal view. And it's funny because one day she messaged it, a bunch of like the current board of directors of Triangle Free Thought Society was coming to my comedy show, and they were all at the restaurant next door and eating dinner. And I went over and took a poll of people's different opinions. So here's different opinions that I got from prominent atheists in my area. But it's funny, like we were never, I don't know if we had a conversation in elementary school, and now we're as adults, we are friends who ask each other for advice because we like the expertise each other have.
So I'm friends with my mom and my mother-in-law on Facebook, and he's just, every time I post something, Mike's giant cock, and he just thought it was hilarious. And there's a part of me that thinks it's hilarious. And there's a part of me that is like,
not for this audience.
Pump the brakes. And Sarah was just like, what is this dude's deal? And like, she did not have a great impression of him. So fast forward 4 or 5 years, something. Sarah and I are married. We're living. Actually, I think we were already living down here. So this is, I think it was like right when we moved down here. I was blogging a lot, and and he reached out to me and said, "Hey, I know you blog, and I'm thinking about doing a blog for pop culture stuff, and I was wondering if you would help me, like, just give me some pointers on like what website is best and how to set up." And so I did, and I helped him get things set up, and I did it, just because he asked nicely. And then after that, he'd be like, "Well, if I'm doing a podcast, if you want to come on the podcast, I'd love to have you on there." Or, "Hey, if you want to write an article, because I know you like this stuff too, do that." And we became friendly. And then I would say, like, at some point in the last 5 or 6 years, he's in my like, if I was to get married today and I had to pick my groomsmen, he'd be one of my groomsmen. And he'd, we weren't really even friends when I got married 9.5 years ago. Like, we were friendly, but that was it, and so, like, it's definitely, it would be misleading to say we were not friends, but it was not like a
Well, I mean,
reverse of the cutting off.
you were friendly acquaintances, and you became
Right.
friends since then. Yeah.
Yeah.
I've had that with a lot of work people, because we've been here in this area for my entire adult life. I came during college, I transferred here and have stayed, really. So there were people who I knew at my last company where I spent 20 years who came to work at my current company. And suddenly, because we knew each other, we kind of hung out a little bit and then discovered we really liked each other and got along and became friends. And these people have left the company since 2 out of the 3. And we have kept in touch. We haven't gotten together yet, but because there was a pandemic, but we don't get together with anyone as often as we used to. But like, I text back and forth, something happens and I'll text a joke and we'll go back and forth on things. And it was like, it's weird that we knew each other for 10 years at the previous company and just never discovered that we could be friends, more than just not in the hallway acquaintances, until we were thrown together and actually became friends.
Yeah.
And the one who
All
just left, we'll see if it lasts.
Yeah, I mean, it is like a test of, like we talked
were
about
were you really my friend, or were you someone I worked with?
Oh yeah. I think that I was amazed. I think that what happened between you and me is not common. No, what happened between you and me is not common. Like, I make friends very well at work. Like, I think I'm a fairly outgoing person. Alex is on right now. Alyssa is watching right now. I think that I connect with people pretty well.
She's never going to talk to you again, but she's on right now.
Who knows? Or she was, at least. Who knows? But like, I do connect well with people. But whether or not A, it's going to stand the test of time is one thing, and B, like, whether or not you go in that first or second day of work and you're like, and your coworker is like, "Oh yeah, this really obscure," like, not that atheism's obscure, but you were like, "Oh, I listen to a lot of atheist podcasts," and I'm like, "Oh, do you listen to Cognitive Dissonance?" And you're like, "I've met Tom and Cecil." Like, that doesn't
I
happen.
gave them donuts.
And then, like, "Oh, do you want to be in my sketch where you can murder me even though you're my boss?" Like, like this is like Romeo and Juliet shit right here. I like to think. Here's the funny thing about this. So I'm 99% sure that Adam watches nothing of this podcast, and if he did and he heard me say that to you, he would be so fucking jealous, because Adam he does not like me having friends that are better or as good of friends as him.
I wasn't allowed to be the first guest on the pod because he had to be the first guest on the pod.
That was more me than him, but yeah. You were second. You were week number 2. All right.
It's funny because my best friend growing up was a very jealous lover. He was a very jealous best friend. To where, like, we've played Dungeons and Dragons, and if people playing were from like other walks of my life other than the neighborhood kids he knew, like kids from just school, whatever, and we went to different schools, he would make sure their characters died in our adventure because he wanted to make sure I wasn't too good friends with them.
Yeah. When I went to Disney with Sarah the first time, he texted me, we posted like heading to Disney, and he messaged, "Just remember, I went there with you first." And I was like, "Well, actually, my parents went there with me first." But sure. So he's a he's a jealous lover, and he would hate that I referred to him as a lover. uh, but all right, do you have any like thoughts on it that we should before we start wrapping up?
No, I feel like we buried Dead to Me pretty well.
Yeah, I I will say this one thing that happened. So I was getting the live streams ready. Obviously, I didn't do a good job of that because we're not even fucking on Facebook. But I was getting them ready, and I said, set it to the. You have to kind of set a title and everything else. And I was like, okay, they're dead to me because that's the topic we were talking about. And then I went through on Facebook, and I haven't really participated in Facebook in years, except for I manage the Talking About the Big Stuff page, and I really have done almost nothing else. And I went in there, and it lets you invite your personal friends, and I still have like Facebook friends from
Ever.
4 or 5 years ago when I was on Facebook, and so I start inviting to the event. And I'm like, and then I realized about halfway through the alphabet, I just invited like 50 people to an event called They're Dead to Me, and I haven't talked to at least 2/3 of them
And they don't
in
know
5
what
years.
the context of that is. Oh my God, did people die? Are you announcing that someone died?
So I wrote like a comment, just so you know, like if anything, like the people that I mentioned that told stories about, they didn't get invites, and nobody in my family got invites but that's not because they're dead to me. But like, so like if you got an invite, you
Are
are
alive.
specifically not dead to me. So like, I hope that came across in there. So, or either that, or I just don't give a shit what you think of me. That's also possible when it comes to inviting people. So, all right. I think that is a good spot to leave it off. So why don't we, before we get going, talk about all of the things we would like you to do. So if you like the if you're listening right now, and you want to just give this video a thumbs up, that does help algorithmically. But also, you could give the YouTube channel a like, a subscribe,
Make a comment.
ring the bell, make a comment. We will be doing these live streams every week. Hopefully, better. I got a cable to hook up a better camera for next week. Although I couldn't figure out the software in the 45 minutes between getting home and getting started. So I will hopefully have that good to go next week. Hopefully we'll be on Facebook. But if you subscribe to the channel, you will be able to watch live, and you'll get like Matthew made a joke that is not going to make it to any other version. Even our patrons are not going to get to see that unless they happen to be watching live. So that's one of the benefits.
It's most of my jokes, quite frankly.
And so, yeah, that's what I would, want to say about the live stuff. If you want to go on Facebook, if that's a better place to watch, our Facebook page is Talking About the Big Stuff, and we will be hopefully live there as well. If I can figure out what the hell went wrong. All right. If you're listening to this podcast,
as a podcast,
as a podcast, or if you're watching and you want to just support us, go on to anywhere you find podcasts and follow or subscribe, whatever they call it. Subscribing on Apple is now $1, and what that buys you is, so it used to be $3. We changed the process a little bit. It's $1. That will get you a month of all the episodes 4 days early. And once we get to the point where we're advertising, it will get you the ad-free version of the episode. If you and there's a $1 Patreon that does the same thing. But if you go on to any of our podcast, any podcast player, and hit like, follow, subscribe, give us a review if that's an option. And if you want to support us monetarily, the best way to do that is to go on to patreon.com/talking about the big stuff, where you will find the option to support us for $1, $3, or $10 a month. And like I said before, $1 gets you the episode early, as well as getting it ad-free. $3 gets a little bit extra content, and $10 gets you shit that like is just wild. Like, there will certainly be some of this episode that is just for $10 Patreon patrons. So that's how you can support us monetarily. And if you look at it this way, $1 a month is 25 cents an episode. Potentially less on a month that has five Fridays, or 5 Mondays, I guess, depending on how you look at it. Matthew, you got anything else to plug?
Nothing else to plug. I just wanted to thank everyone for talking about the big stuff with you. And if we said something that offended you, never listen to us again.
Cut us off.
Cut us off.
Yeah. Make like our foreskins and cut us off.
Ow!
The preceding podcast has been a Chocolate Diamond Media LLC production. Copyright 2023, all rights reserved.